What's going on, Warriors? I'm Coach Nick.
And I'm Coach Jake.
And today we're going to show you guys how to use MyFitnessPal, how to properly track macros, how to use a food scale, and the do's, don'ts, and some tips and tricks when it comes to tracking your macros.
All right, so just to recap real quick, your macronutrients are your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. And the reason that we track macros specifically instead of just calories is to ensure we're getting adequate protein to build muscle and recover, adequate carbohydrates to fuel our training sessions and to give us energy throughout the day, and to ensure we're getting enough fats to support healthy hormone levels.
All right, so you might be asking yourself, why track macros over calories? So you want to track macros because of the efficiency behind it, right? So when you track macros, a lot of the times during body recomposition, you're going to maintain a lot more muscle mass and target a lot more body fat in the reduction because you are allocating your macronutrients properly.
All right, so to track your macros, you really only need two things. The first one is a cell phone. Doesn't matter if it's an Android or an Apple, and you need an app that is going to track your food. And in this case, in this video, we're going to be using MyFitnessPal. The second thing that you need is a food scale. Doesn't need to be anything fancy, it just needs to be big enough so you can put your plate or your bowl on there, and it needs to measure in grams and ounces. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, guys, is show you how to use the MyFitnessPal app. So first step, go to the App Store, type in MyFitnessPal, and here you can see it says open, but for you guys that don't have it downloaded, it's going to say download. So hit the download button and then go ahead and open up the app.
Alright guys, so after you've downloaded and opened up the app, you're brought into the sign up or login screen. So for those of you that are completely new, you're going to sign up for free and you don't need the premium version. For me, I already have a login, so I'm just going to go ahead and log in. So this brings you to the home page. The home page basically shows you some of your macros and calories and the nutrients remaining. If you look on here, they do have some recipes for you. You can see what your friends are doing, things of that nature. But most of your time you're going to be spent in this tab right here, which is the diary tab. So the diary tab is where you're going to do all of your tracking, and you're going to be able to see all of the macros that you've currently eaten and the individual macros and calories of each individual thing that you've eaten throughout the course of the day. So if you look one over to the right, you have this blue plus button. So if you tap that, you can see or add different things like weight, water, status, food, and exercise. Now one more over, you have progress. So if you'd like to, you can track your weight. This does sync with some scales. It's obviously synced with mine, but I don't really use it, and for this video we won't really go too much into this. And then all the way on the very far right hand side we have more, which is essentially like a settings tab. So in here you can add things to your profile. You can add goals for yourself if you want to input those. And then another really cool thing you can do is you can add individual meals, which I've done for some of my things. So instead of constantly scanning or inputting my morning supplements, you can see right there that my morning supplements is already a quote unquote meal, and I can just tap that for super quick tracking. Now, like I said, we spend most of our time in the diary, so we're going to go ahead and show you guys how to track using the diary tab. So one last thing, if you wanted more additional information on like the nutrients and micros and stuff like that you're eating, you could tap the top bar under nutrients remaining anywhere up there, and that will bring up a list of all the different nutrients that you have, like your vitamin A, vitamin C, your fiber, things of that nature, your calories for the day, and then you also have a macro breakdown all the way to the right and the percentage of macros distributed for that day. So now we're gonna help you track your very first food item, and we're gonna start out simple. All we're gonna do is track this little Cliff Bar here by scanning the barcode. That's one of the ways that you can track using MyFitnessPal. So we're gonna go ahead and hit add food. You're gonna hit the scan barcode icon right here on the top right. You can see the little barcode in that square. Tap that, then it's going to bring up your scanner. Go ahead and scan the UPC or barcode, and that will literally bring up the item that you have scanned. And so you always want to make sure that the macros and the calories on the item that you just scanned line up with the nutrition facts on the actual food item. Because a lot of the times, you know, they don't sync. So then you just go ahead and on the top right, hit the check mark because you are only eating 1 bar for the serving size if you're gonna eat the whole bar, and then number of servings would be 1 if you're gonna eat the whole bar. Now, if you're gonna eat half the bar, you could just put 0.5, check mark, check. And now, as you can see right here in the middle, I have the chocolate chip energy bar, Cliff Bar, and I'm only eating half the bar.
All right, so now that we showed you guys how to track a food item by scanning the barcode, we're gonna show you the second option, which is searching the online database. So for this example, we're gonna be tracking Dan and Light and Fit vanilla Greek yogurt. So the first thing we're gonna do here is go ahead and hit add food. And then up in this search box, you're just gonna search for the item. So here we have Dannon Light Plus Fit Vanilla Greek Yogurt. All right, so now that we found the food item that we want to double check and make sure the macros line up. So if you take a look at the nutrition label here, it's 90 calories, 0 fat, 10 carb, and 14 protein. So if we look here, 90 calories, 10 carb, 0 fat, 14 grams of protein. So this is the one we want to use. So from here, you want to go to serving size, and you can use the serving size that is on the label, or you can choose to do 1 gram, which is a little more accurate. So we're going to choose that option. And then depending on how much you want, you just enter that amount right here. So say I only want 100 grams. So I type in 100 grams, hit the check mark. So now we're gonna go straight into measuring out our Greek yogurt. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take your bowl and either place it on the scale first and then turn it on, because that will zero it out, or what you can do is turn the food scale on, wait for it to boot up, place your bowl on the scale, and then hit the 0 function. So now your scale should read 0. So from here, just going to take our Greek yogurt and measure out 100 grams. $38, 63. Oh, a little too much, so we're at 123, so we'll just take a little out, put it back in. 109 and 99. That's good enough. So there you have it weighed out. And then from here, you're just gonna hit the check mark in the top right corner and then hit add at the very bottom, and boom, now it's added to your food diary.
So we just went over how to use MyFitnessPal, how to track certain food items using the scan function, searching it in the search engine. But now we want to show you guys some tips, tricks, do's and don'ts that we've learned over time from tracking for a while now. So tip number 1, when you are going to track fresh produce, berries, fruits, maybe even some meats that you get at like the farmer's market or even at the supermarket, where they don't have any labeling or UPC code or anything that you can scan, one good rule of thumb is to use USDA when searching that specific item. This gives you one of the most accurate readings out there. Tip number 2. So a lot of the times when we're eating fruits, we don't eat the peel or the skin on it, right? So Jake here is going to show you a really cool way, without having to use a plate or a bowl or anything like that, to get an accurate measurement of just the fruit that you've eaten. Step 1 is we're going to put the banana, after zeroizing the scale, onto the scale. Now we have a measurement here of 186 grams. So that's the whole banana, including the peel. We don't want that, we just want the fruit. So what Jake's gonna do is we're gonna remember 186 grams, maybe you can write it down somewhere, put it in your notes, whatever you wanna do to remember that number, and then eat the banana, and then you're going to weigh the skin or the peel afterwards so that you have the exact amount of grams of the fruit that you've just eaten.
And guys, this works with pretty much any fruit. So if you have an apple, you can weigh the entire apple, eat only what you're gonna eat, and then put the core back on the scale.
Dig in, Jake.
Don't freeze frame this.
All right, so now we have the scale again zeroized out so that we can get an accurate reading in grams of the peel. And the peel is 72 grams. So with a little math,
186 minus 72, 114.
114 grams of banana that he just consumed. And that is tip number 2.
All right, guys, so on to tip number 3. So when measuring things like peanut butter or anything in a jar, an easy way to track this is to set it on the food scale first.
With the lid off.
With the lid off. Zero the scale out, so now it reads 0. And instead of scooping things out of the jar, putting it in there, going back and forth, what you can do is now scoop it out, and the food scale is going to read negative. So even though the number is going to be negative, the measurement itself is still going to be the same. So for this example, we want 1 serving, which is 32 grams. So it's on the scale, it's zeroed out. Now all we do is just take our spoon
and go until we get 32 grams.
There we go, right there, 32 grams. Now you don't have to go back and forth.
Tip number 4. When you are using the search function, one of the things that you want to remember to do is using, at least when you can, is using the green verified check mark. So next to the name on the right hand side will be kind of a green shield looking icon with a check mark. I'll have it pop up right here. And that will usually indicate that this food item is verified. So the readings and measurements are going to be a lot more accurate.
One of the downfalls with these tracking apps such as MyFitnessPal is users can input their own food items, and sometimes these food items are incorrect. So if it has a green check next to it, this means it's verified and it is accurate.
This is more of a don't rather than a tip, but a lot of the times when people are new to tracking, they tend to try and track the entire food with one food item or one log item rather than tracking the individual ingredients. And what I mean by this is this example right here. So instead of tracking a whole hamburger and just searching hamburger in the search function, what you want to do is you want to track the individual ingredients and the amounts of the individual ingredients to give you what you truly ate in the macros and calorie aspect.
Last tip for you, and this one is track everything that you consume that has calories. So if it's anything under 10 calories, 5 calories, you don't really need to track that. That's just really minuscule and it's not really going to make that much difference. But if it has over 10 calories, you need to track it. So things like your pre-workout, your greens powder, coffee, especially if you put creamer or any kind of sugar in there. You add a little bit of bacon bits on your salad or any kind of dressings or any kind of toppings. These things have calories, and just because they're low calorie doesn't mean that they don't need to be tracked. These little things add up over the course of the day. So if you don't track vegetables because you think it's low calorie and it doesn't matter, you do that 4 or 5 times in a day, that's 100 to 200 calories. So make sure you guys are tracking everything that you consume that contains calories, anything above 10 calories.
Last little tidbit here for you guys before we say deuces is tracking macros is a skill. So it's gonna take you guys some time to get adjusted and learn your own way of tracking things. Maybe you pre-plan and you track everything in the beginning of the day so that you just weigh the stuff out and you consume it right afterwards, not having to deal with MyFitnessPal like every single time you eat. Or you like to do it kind of on the fly after you've gotten a little bit more experience from it. But we definitely recommend, if you are new to tracking, that you pre-plan your day ahead to get as close to the macros as possible, because it is kind of hard to do if you've never done this before. But with that, thanks guys for watching. Happy tracking.